Tin Hut, and a happy 4th of July to each and every one of you out there in my racehorse land. Nick Hines reporting for duty. Some of you may know me as the Sarge, but a wonderful 4th of July, Independence Day holiday, and hopefully you're out there celebrating social distancing, of course, and enjoying this day. We've got a great show for you today, and for those that tuned in on Monday for the All Things Authentic, we'll also have an opportunity to touch on that. But first and foremost, I want to introduce a couple of guys as we bring you in for today's festivity, not only the 4th of July, but gentlemen, Big Mel is career start number 3, going to be the lucky charm here on the 4th of July, a horse that's developing. Uncle Chuck certainly behooved him with a big victory, giving Bob Baffert his 9th Los Alamitos Derby win today. Gentlemen, Joe Mishak, Joe Moran, good afternoon.
Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I do think third time's going to be a charm today, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're going to jump right into it. Obviously, a key scratch, and I want to say a quick Joe Mishak, because obviously you studied up on that particular race. A key scratch, and remind us who that scratch is, as I believe we're down to a field of, 7 going postward?
Yeah, we have the scratch at number 2, Divine Armor, who was the second choice on the morning line. Good runner that's had a little bit of tough luck himself, and he scratched out of here, so makes it, maybe hopefully a touch easier today.
All right, well, hopefully. Last check for Big Mel, I noticed that he was sitting on the board at 1-9 and $49,000 in the win pool, and over $28,000 wagered to win on Big Mel. So the pressure's on for the son of Into Mischief. And, of course, a salute to B. Wayne Hughes of Spendthrift in partnership with Spendthrift, MyRacehorse.com. Folks, if you haven't signed on, this is your chance, of course. And today, Big Mel looking to take a positive step forward. I know one thing, Joe and Joe. Not only did he earn an 83 Beyer speed figure, which is a very nice move in career start number 2 off of one race, which was a sprint, routing for the first time. Today will be the second time, here at a 9 1/4 on the Ragazine sheets, which puts him just a little bit of racing luck is all we need. I don't want to put the kiss of death on him, so let's get it done today. All right, I know that we've got some folks out there that are participating. Stephanie, Faye Wright, but I wanted to jump into what's happening now, obviously, and if we can bring in Joe Moran here on the left coast. So our focus today is at Los Alamitos Racecourse, and it's been an exciting couple of weeks, Joe. You're talking about practice in particular, and of course, Vertical Threat. What's the latest and greatest?
Yeah, so a lot of exciting things kind of in the works for Del Mar for hopefully a big summer. We're going to start, hopefully opening day, we're going to start right off the bat with Tis Magician. He worked on Friday. Mr. Mandela was very pleased with the work. I spoke to him this morning. He said the plan is to enter in the Oceanside, so really excited about that and giving him the opportunity to run on the turf. It's something we've kind of talked about internally for a while that we think he would take to the turf, so it'll be interesting if he gets that test. Also, we'll have Carpe Venum making her comeback hopefully on July 12th. She'll have her final work either Sunday or Tuesday if she gets the opportunity to work on the turf. So it'll be exciting to get her back in action for hopefully an exciting turf campaign over the summer at Del Mar. And then we have Lane Way also to continue with the Mandela team. He came out of his last race in great order. They were super excited the way he came out. So he's pointing straight ahead, maiden special weight, going a mile on the turf on July 18th. We're going to implement a little new tactics. I think we're going to see him a little more forwardly placed or aggressively ridden early to kind of get that early position when I was talking to Richard today. And then lastly, Bella Chica also in that first 2 weeks of the meet, a Calbred, fillies and mares going a mile on the turf on July 17th. So we got a lot upcoming there. We ended the last couple of weeks strong with Vertical Threat, and you're talking about practice, like you said. They both are kind of setting up at the end of the first book. There's a sprint non-1 condition allowance race for Vertical Threat on August 2nd. That seems like the logical spot, pending he continues in good order. And then you talking about practice, being a Calbred, you got the opportunity to look at a few Calbred spots. He's a 3-year-old, so you can look straight 3-year-old stake races. And you also have the state-bred condition going 5 furlongs on the turf at Del Mar. So we got a lot of opportunities and hopefully a lot of runners starting early.
Yeah, no doubt. And, of course, Del Mar, which kicks off on July 10th
Yep.
And for those that are, curious about the nominations or whatnot for those stakes races, go to dmtc.com. And of course, MyRacehorse is first and foremost with keeping you updated on the goings on as the meet transitions down there. And of course, it's obviously very exciting when you've got two what appear to be very talented 3-year-olds, one being of which a California bred, the other being in Vertical Threat, who's an open bred. But it looks as if, the sky's the limit, based on the feedback from both trainers. Peter Miller, you talking about practice, Vertical Threat, with Richard Baltus. I'm crossing my fingers, and I'm hoping that, the patience that MyRacehorse, along with our partners in Slam Dunk Racing, have instilled, because both horses are owned in a partnership with them, and it's obviously paying it forward. So also want to remind you folks, feel free to post your questions for a chance to have them answered live on air. And I'm speaking with Joe Moran. Of course, he is the racing manager of our West Coast operations. As horses are just about coming on to the racetrack. So Joe, we're going to bring that feed up, and we're going to bring back in Joe Mishak. We're about 8 minutes roughly to post, make it 7 minutes. And Big Mel is 1-5. Did you see that happening with Big Mel today? Did you expect it to be 1-5 with Luis Saez in the irons?
Well, we have a big fan base for Big Mel, and coming off that last race and Uncle Chuck kind of solidifying that performance a couple hours ago, I definitely expected him to get play. I wasn't sure I was going to see 1-5. I was hoping more as a gambler, a little higher than that. But I do think on paper, I kind of went over the race a few times. He seems to be the logical horse to beat here, and I do think it's his race to lose.
All right, Joe Mishak, welcome back. And we are obviously going to touch with you at the conclusion of this race. And I also want to remind the folks that are tuned in right now at MyRacehorse TV, at the conclusion of Big Mel's race, which hopefully we'll be celebrating, being that I'm on the move, hence the blank screen behind me. Moving day on July 4th, not so great, but MyRacehorse TV, simply awesome. Joe Mishak, you and I had a talk in our pre-production meeting. Moran, you're all ears. The best approach to this race would be what? Obviously, putting $2 to win on a horse at 1-5 is going to garner you a 20-cent profit. Where do we stand as far as the exotics here? Joe Mishak, who are the key contenders?
Yeah, I think obviously we checked out Jeff Mullins' horse, number 6. He ran the same race. His first race was the race that Cezanne broke his maiden in. So obviously, looking at a key race there. And the horse that intrigues me a little bit is number 8 out of the Peter Urton barn. Raising to Todd, his son of his, Tom Satat, just won down at Churchill last weekend. Very impressive horse. Horse, that's bred on the bottom side by Dynaformer. Should appreciate, the cutback today. Obviously, some 2-turn experience, and just worked, a bullet work his last workout leading into this race. So those are the 2 horses I'd be keying on underneath here.
By the way, David Fallow says hello, Joe, out there in TVG land. And David's obviously a big fan. Johnny Stugat says, I'm a happy NYRA moved on, which that tells me that he is now part of MyRacehorse Nation, which is a wonderful thing. And as we often talk, the money train leaves the station at certain points. And I could tell you in recent weeks, and we'll get into it regarding Authentic and the next step. I know it was a big workout today for him, and we will talk about that at the conclusion of Big Mel's hopeful graduation party. Joe Moran, you tend to be a pace handicapper, and you've had an opportunity to look at this dynamic of this race.
Yeah.
Where do you see Big Mel in the early stages here? And with the inclusion of Luis Saez, this will be his 3rd different rider in as many tries. Where do you see Big Mel early on?
Yeah,
All right, so having a little bit of a technical issue there with Joe Moran. We'll wait for him to come back. So I'm going to come back to you, Joe Mishak. So if you were to, for me, I would play this race simply. I would go ahead and key Big Mel on top. I would use the Drysdale 1 and the Mullins. The Mullins is the 6, correct?
Correct.
I would go 3 over the 1-6. That's how I would play this race, and I think that's looks to be like the right move. Okay, now that we have Joe Moran back, Joe, I know what I'm going to get you for your birthday. I know what I'm going to get you for Christmas.
Stop it.
And it's not going to be a brand new car. All right, so,
goodness.
but it might be. If Vertical Threat can somehow win the Malibu in December, then we're talking, right?
We're talking.
Okay, so tell me how this race sets up and where do you see Big Mel in the first quarter to half mile?
Yeah, I think Luis Saez is going to be aggressive from the gate. That's what he's best at. So I think he is going to use that to his advantage. We do have some speed right outside of us. In a perfect world, I would love to see the 4 still in the game go in front. And we'd be able to just get right outside and kind of have that stalking position. Based on his last race, I kind of see that in vision. Now, if he breaks on top, I definitely don't think, the lead's impossible for him. But I do think there's a few interesting horses. I mean, there's multiple horses stretching out. So you're not really sure how much pace they're going to show, and that can really dictate the race. So I think you're really going to have to play the break and kind of see what happens outside of us.
All right. Well, again, being the fact that the speed where Big Mel is, he's essentially drawn toward the inside. Just my opinion as a former trainer, I think he's got one way to go. And knowing Bob Baffert, obviously he has Luis Saez on him for a particular reason. A big shout out to Steve Knopfsinger out there in Yellington, Kentucky. Thanks for tuning in, and we appreciate you. We're hoping that Big Mel can take that step forward. And, in a perfect world of imperfection, Joe Mishak, if Big Mel were to come through with a win today, where do you see him coming back, and what would be kind of the end of the year plan for him? Do you see a horse that may eventually evolve toward the grass, or do you think Bob Baffert's mentality with this horse is strictly keep him on the dirt?
Ooh, that's a loaded question, Nick. Obviously, Joe Moran and myself had remarked when we first saw Big Mel back in Ocala going back last year, last March, that we thought that this, with his breeding and quality roads tend to be multi-surface runners. I wouldn't say turf, and being that he's a little on the slighter side of a horse, he could excel there. But I do believe that, one race at a time mantra, it's boring but true. Let's find ourselves in a winner's circle, hopefully in a few minutes here. And then we'll have a nice discussion with Bob Baffert down the line to see where we're going to go next.
Yeah, Joe Schrader, he had asked a question regarding Big Mel, question as to the rider change. This will be the 3rd different rider in as many tries. By the way, Luis Saez is looking for a hat trick today. His first mounts in Southern California, I believe, in 2020. I think the bottom line is you've got a 2-time Triple Crown winning trainer, Hall of Fame trainer at that, and I think you have to defer to the coach. I wouldn't be the guy to tell you, hey, you know what? You went from this quarterback to that quarterback. Why are you going to use Tom Brady? I mean, maybe Luis Saez is part of this horse's future. Maybe if he were to win today, maybe we're going to try and capitalize on some of the derbies around the nation. There is so much money out there. It's not only localized here in California, but there's plenty of upside. So thanks to our friend out there, Mr. Schrader, for tuning in. And Karen Russo, she said, having Big Mel racing on the 4th of July says it's better than the 4th of July. I think that's pretty awesome, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just a couple of Joes Swartz here. So we're also going to talk a little bit, and just a heads up, we're going to talk a little bit about the Philly 4, an update on Moonlight d'Oro, which Joe Moran, tell us in a nutshell, who is Moonlight d'Oro?
Moonlight d'Oro is a 2-year-old filly. Actually, if we saw the first race today at Los Alamitos, her half-sister, who was trained by Bob Baffert, who was named Bohemian Rhapsody, and Luis Saez was aboard, and they took the first race on debut today. So she debuted as a 3-year-old. It was a game effort down the lane, and she gutted it out down the lane. So it was nice to see that, and always a good sign when we see those siblings.
Oh, that's great. I mean, can't have a better update than that. We'll have an opportunity to touch on the workout as well. I know that we in-house, we like to huddle up during the week and talk about workouts, and be sure that the pertinent questions are asked of the trainers. And I must say, regardless of whether or not they're a Hall of Fame trainer or just a trainer on the upswing, I think all of our trainers have been very generous with their time and communication, because they too are excited, because obviously with a partnership with Spendthrift, you're getting some impeccably bred individuals. Intermission is our focus today, of course, and has been throughout the week, with all things authentic to kick off the week. But Big Mel, gentlemen, last thoughts? Joe Mishak.
Looking forward to coming back here in about 2 minutes, celebrating most likely.
Yep.
All right, Joe Moran. Joe Moran, how do you feel about now?
Just win, baby.
That's all I want to hear. And the late, great Al Davis, it's his birthday today, so you nailed it on the head. Let's send it out to Los Alamitos daytime thoroughbred action. Michael Rona with the call, the nightcap. My Racehorse TV, all things Big Mel. Good luck.
Good luck.
Dodger. The last couple to load is still in the game, and Ecclesia. One to two for Big Mel. They're ready. Racing. Big Mel is away nicely with Dodger. Winners Club on the inside from Still in the Game. Quicker 3 wide. Ecclesia 4 wide, moving up third. Dodger takes the lead by a length to Big Mel. Ecclesia moving up on the outside, a level second with 7/8 to go. A couple of lengths to Winners Club. Still in the Game is 5 lengths off the lead. And Quicker trails to the back stretch. And the leader is Dodger, keen to get on with the job. Tugging along 2.5 lengths clear. Ecclesia moving up a closer second now. And Big Mel's on the inside, followed closely by Still in the Game. Winners Club along the inside within 2.5 lengths of the front runner, and Quicker brings up the rear. Midway along the back stretch, and it's Dodger in front, has been restrained on the lead by a length and a quarter. Ecclesia running second, Big Mel on the inside third. Still in the Game is fourth, Winners Club fifth, and Quicker is sixth. Entering the far turn, and Dodger by a length and a half. Ecclesia sharing second with Big Mel. 2 lengths away, Still the Game running fourth around the far turn at the 3/8 pole from Winners Club, and 2 after Quicker. It's Dodger still in front with 5/16 to go by a length and a half. Ecclesia hard pressed second outside of Big Mel, and then Still in the Game getting to the outside fourth, 4 off the leader. The rail is open for Big Mel as they approach the 3/16 pole. Dodger still in front with Big Mel on the inside trying to reach him, but Ecclesia is the one who moves up and puts his head in front. And then comes Still in the Game, clear of Winners Club. It's Ecclesia. Still in the Game is ranging up on the outside. Big Mel along the fence to a level third with Dodger. Still in the Game, and Ecclesia battle it out to the wire, and Ecclesia has won narrowly from Still in the Game. Big Mel third, fourth either Dodger or Winners Club.
All right, Ecclesia going to get the victory there for trainer Peter Urton. And a quick side note, of course, Sharon Alicia unfortunately left us over this past week, and the Peter Urton barn has been on an incredible roll. I'm going to bring back in both Joe Mishak, Joe Moran, as we'll have an opportunity to recap what just took place. I kind of feel like in the grand scheme of things, as far as placement in the end, being on the inside was maybe not the place to be. It's a very difficult track at Los Alamitos to win from that inside post. Joe Mishak, what are your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get outside. In my mind, I drew the race up just like Joe Moran did, and Nick, you and I even talked about it about an hour ago, that we were hoping to break, let somebody go, and then catch outside run and be up a little bit closer. So a tough spot, no excuses, but not the trip that I would have liked. That's for sure.
Joe Moran?
I mean, I kind of do agree with that. He looked to be traveling really well going into the far turn, and I thought he was going to get outside and make that run coming for home. And, you know, sometimes horses do get intimidated being on the inside, you know, definitely younger, inexperienced horses. So, I mean, I definitely think that played a factor into it, and I would have liked to see him on the outside, but that is the luck of the game right there.
Well, that's just it. And, you know, obviously Ecclesia took him 5 starts to break his maiden. And yeah, I never really got the impression as he was trying to get around his stablemate. It appeared Dodger who set the pace. I was perfectly fine with that. When you look at the opening quarter, and I think the run-up distance was a little indifferent there because 22-3 seems awfully quick considering what the half-mile split was of a 47. So we'll await to get some feedback from Hall of Fame trainer Bob Baffert, and that was Big Mel here on My Racehorse TV, finishing third in career start number 3. The bright side, he obviously stretched back today, and he may have reacted a bit off of that number last out, earning a 9 1/4 on the rags, and strictly from a numbers perspective. The main thing is he comes back in good order. I think that if Baffert were to draw up an ulterior an ulterior plan with him today, maybe he would have said, hey, Luis, try to get him outside if you could. But maybe it was beyond Luis' control once he committed to the inside down the backside. So, yep. All right. Okay, so let's get on to talking about the updates, okay? And I want to come back to Joe Moran in reference to Moonlight Doro. You mentioned the sibling who won the opener today and did it quite willingly. It was a little workmanlike. Yeah. Definitely a horse that I think will appreciate some time. So Moonlight Doro, where do we stand at this stage of the game?
So yeah, she's really doing great. I talked to Gary yesterday. She's still based at Santa Anita. She's shipping to Del Mar tomorrow. So they had half their barn. They're early runners in the meet. Head to Del Mar early. So she worked right here. You'll see her work a minute and 4 at Santa Anita, and she went solo and she did it very professionally. This is her second 5/8, and she seems to just do everything the right way. That's the thing. They've always said when she's coming in the barn, she's just taken every step and done everything they've asked. So, you know, both Gary and Richard said they can see her really only a couple works away from being a race. So I think maybe that end of the first condition book is well in reach. There was a turf race going long, which pedigree-wise isn't impossible for her. And then there's also first as well.
Okay, so as we're having a little bit of an issue there with Joe freezing up, Joe Mishak, remind me on Moonlight Doro, is she evolving out of the Philly 4? I feel like
she's all the Philly 4. You know, they're in training right now, going through the motions. Obviously, it's kind of funny, Nick. We talk about horses we think might be premature early on and later developing, and Moonlight was a type of horse that she was on the smaller side. She's a Mayfoal. And really, she's really taken her training really well once she got to Richard's barn. And kind of who knows what's going to pan out when they get to the races, but she's really impressed us internally about how quick she's kind of flipped the script. And so it's been nice to see. Shared Empire with Bob Baffert. We just got a note, I think it was, later last night or this morning about her recent work. And, she's coming along nice and professional. Always thought she'd be, that she's a Scopy or 2-turn type horse. So Bob, I think, wants to give her about another month down at Los Al until he brings her down to Del Mar. So she'll probably be, a later horse, which is totally in line with what we all expected when we saw her for the first time back in the spring at Ocala. And then moving on to the East Coast horses, Todd Pletcher sent a note regarding Lady Valentine, our nice Intermission filly. And as you recall, Nick, she got a little bit of minor sickness at the end of her string down in Palm Beach. And then shipped up into Saratoga at the beginning of June, got in the swing of things, got in the roll. Now Todd's starting to really, ramp up the program there. And she had a nice half the other day and galloped out 5 furlongs and starting to get that nice base and speed into her. And Joyful Addiction for Brad Cox. She's going through the motions. She's a little bit feisty right now. I think she's starting to show that tiz now in her a little bit. I know you've had conversations with Brad about kind of just, getting her in the right spot mentally and making sure she kind of goes through the motions before we get her to a race. So I think patience is going to be key with her right now.
Mr. Nick, we got to unmute.
All right. So
I missed you. Sorry, Nick.
All right. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to go to the All Things Authentic, a show obviously that took place on Monday. And we had opportunities to have 2 Hall of Famers on board here with trainer Bob Baffert, Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith, general manager for Spendthrift Farms, and Ned Toffee. So let's go to that. We'll come back with a kind of an update on those horses that I was trying to announce there with the likes of a Deep Cover, Mo Mischief, and others. Let's send it out to the All Things Authentic, your show that was brought to you here on Monday. All right, so we're having a whale of a day, and obviously the 4th of July, things happen. But I want to bring back both Joe and Joe in reference to we'll talk authentic. Obviously, having some audio difficulties with our look back at the show that took place on Monday. So while we're on the subject of all things authentic, going to Joe Mishak on this one, maybe try to encapsulate the show and the conversations that were had. I know many of the folks out there have already had an opportunity to watch it, but where do we stand on authentic? I know that he had a nice workout today, and what's the word from Bob Baffert's barn?
Yeah, I think a nice workout again this morning. He, we're getting him to relax. I think a little bit more. A nice mile workout here in a minute 39. The last work, as Bob alluded to on All Things Authentic, that he was a little keyed up again in his last start and went that 6 and 111 and change last out. So I think he settled in nicely here today. Got a lot of good foundation, and I think this really ultimately is probably his last big drill, so to speak, before the Haskell here in 2 weeks.
Well, he's obviously moving nice and smooth at this stage of the game, looking at this 1 mile workout. Do we know as far as what the anticipation was of this workout? I mean, obviously it's a 139 on paper, but, was this one that he just wanted to get him to ration his speed and then finish on out with a good gallop out? Because a mile workout is a big thing in today's world.
Yeah, no doubt. And, when Bob mentioned on the show on Monday that he thought, that really last workout really cranked authentic up, and he kind of didn't want to do too much leading into the race. And I think this obviously was kind of in between. It gave him a good stretch out, but didn't, he did it well within himself, and should have a lot of energy now leading up to the race here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that workout, and obviously we're waiting to get some feedback. And Joe Moran, have you heard in reference to Bob Baffert any thoughts on Big Mel's performance today, finishing 3rd?
Yeah, we have not heard anything back as of yet. But to touch base on just going on the authentic, Bob sent us a note after that work, and he thought that work went perfect, and we're right on schedule for the Haskell. And I thought the best part of that work was, if you watch early on, how relaxed he was, and his ears were just going back and forth early on, listening to the rider, and I thought that was impressive to see based off what Bob was talking about last week on the show.
Yeah, I believe Baffert has won the Haskell, 8 or 9 times? Something like that? 8. And obviously today he won his 9th Los Alamitos Derby, a race that was previously known as the Swap, so that key number 9. Want to make a note here that the show that we did our best to bring on for you that was lacking the audio. We'll be posting all things authentic on the highlight reel on Twitter. You'll have an opportunity, not only our partners, potential shareholders, you'll have an opportunity to go in and watch all things authentic. So keep an eye on the MyRacehorse.com Twitter page. Yeah, the one thing I'll take from that authentic work, based on his prior workout, it would have been nice to kind of match him up. But to me, he looked as if he dropped his head a bit more here. Mm-hmm. And I got the impression that he exhaled. Yeah. And it may have been Drayton Van Dyke actually aboard to work today. And that's the one thing about Bob Baffert and his relationship with his riders. As we well know, Mike Smith was riding the Met Mile today out at Belmont. So not impossible, but impossible for him to fly from California to work authentic and then go to New York. But in any event, so that is authentic. And as I was mentioning, Joe Mishak, before I went inexplicably on mute, which for some might be a good thing, tell us about the East Coast and Mo Mischief. I noticed a workout today for him, and then an update on Deep Cover as well.
Yeah, so Mo Mischief had his first gate work this morning at Saratoga. Obviously, he had some gate work down at Palm Beach with Todd, and he worked very good. 48-4 this morning inside of a 3-year-old Todd had. Starting once again, just like Lady Valentine, he's starting to really tighten the screws, get him ready for a debut here at the end of the month or early August, I believe August 1st. I think as a 6 furlong maiden special weight at Saratoga. So he's coming along. I did ask Todd about Mo. He had the tendency to get a little rank, especially when we did show a couple of weeks ago. We showed his workout down there, and I said, Todd, has he progressed? And so he's definitely progressing, mentally when it comes to his gallops. He does still like to get a little aggressive in his workouts, and he's hitting those poles. So I'm sure Todd's and his riders are doing the best to get him cranked up for race day number 1.
Yeah, no, I love the patience that's being applied. You see so many of these horses that come out of the 2-year-old training sales, and they tend to be in rush mode. And again, going back to that relationship with Spendthrift, and of course the connections there, B. Wayne Hughes, Ned Toffee, and their entire staff, along with MyRacehorse.com, we are essentially looking to the trainer as having that guidance. And obviously Todd Pletcher, I mean, how many Eclipse Awards has the guy won? Probably more trophies than I have on my bookshelf right now, but I'm just kidding. The greatest. I mean, Todd is a wonderful trainer, and he's a better person. He communicates to a T. But I'm seeing some other questions, going back to Facebook Live. A shout out to Sarah Marie. Big thank you for tuning in this afternoon. And in regards to the updates, did we cover all of the Philly 4?
We did, but we got a few more on the East Coast though. We got Deep Cover and Storm Shooter. Deep Cover obviously is a horse we all picked out the last time we hit the grounds in Ocala together back in March. And Todd, we like to, and Todd likes to give them a little bit of a breather after the sale, which we did. Obviously, then we shipped them over to Windstar Farm, and I thought the staff over there looks like they've done a phenomenal job with him based on the updates that we've seen, getting him good and fit, good foundation in him. Obviously, when we bought him back in March, he had a little nice belly on him back then, which obviously we thought, man, he's pretty athletic guy and carrying a little extra weight, and he still looks like he's carrying good healthy flesh there. And I think now that he's at Belmont and getting in Byron, Todd's assistant at Belmont will get him, good and tight. And we probably should be looking at the end of Saratoga probably for a start for Deep Cover. And Storm Shooter, obviously the same boat. We bought him last month, gave him a little bit of time to decompress. Todd wanted to give him some time to decompress out of that sale. He's been doing great up there, enjoying it, and he's scheduled to go to the track and have his first breeze at the end of this upcoming week.
All right, and it sounds like things are coming together, and with Saratoga going to lift off, they've got a new surface up there. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out time-wise, and of course, safety being paramount. with Saratoga. I know as a horse player, when it comes to a new surface, even a new meeting at that, I always take what they did more recent with a grain of salt because of the fact of transitioning from track to track. But now with Saratoga, which has installed a new surface there, and the word on the street is they actually haven't had any like quote unquote official workouts yet. So essentially everyone's training on the training track, and I'd hope that there'd be some testing ground there. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity from a betting perspective. So in that regard, let's go back to Joe Moran in regards to the ownership experience. And where does that stand today? And of course, in light of the pandemic, I know that we've had some COVID-19 spikes, and on 4th of July weekend, I'm sure people are maybe bending just a bit. But where do we stand with the ownership experience today at MyRacehorse?
Yeah, well, so right now, just due to everything, all of our events are put on hold till further notice, and we're going to be communicating with all tracks. Just for example, Del Mar, it was looking hopeful that there was possibly going to be some owners, but they released yesterday that there's going to be no owners. They do have the mornings going on. It's a pretty strict protocols.
Yeah, strict protocols out at Del Mar. Saratoga the same. We feel that we're going to do the best we can. Obviously, we're just as eager to get back to the track as everybody else. Even Monmouth Park, I know they were planning on 15,000 for the Haskell about a week ago, and obviously the world's kind of changed with the uptick in COVID cases, and there's likely probably going to be a reduction in that number if I had my gut feeling on that. So we're working with the tracks, but obviously that they are going to play very safe, very close to the vest. Probably for the rest of the summer will be my guess.
All right. Well, I would say at the end of the day, Joe, you've done a fine job today. I know that we've had a little bit of hiccups here and there in regards to the technical difficulties, but it is a holiday. It's America's birthday. And I want to thank you for your time, of course, on behalf of Joe Moran. Can't say enough for the work that he puts in, because we know he's up early in the day, getting updates, going to the racetrack, and, as much as even delivering silks yesterday to be sure that Big Mel was drawn up perfectly. So I guess this stage of the game, for the partners on Big Mel, there will be an update hopefully going out to sometime over the course of the next couple of hours. We haven't got any quick updates, which is usually good news. And there's several theories. I wouldn't be down on the fact that he got beat today at 1-2. I would look at it as if it was another gained experience. And, Luis Saez had won 2 races on the card today, including the Los Alamitos Derby. But I think we all know as handicappers, when you get down toward the inside at Los Alamitos, it's not an easy place to be. No. So that being said, gentlemen, I want to thank both of you for your time today. Look forward to next time here on My Race TV and to My Racehorse TV. And a reminder that this is your chance to be part of a franchise, your opportunity to be part of that sports franchise. Visit the website at all things at myracehorse.com. This is a wonderful chance of a lifetime. Of course, we say in a lifetime of chance, and we'll be following you up with some updates going forward. And I want to wish all of you out there in My Racehorse land a wonderful and winning 4th of July weekend. And as Gerald Stanley Lee once said, America's a tune, it must be sung together. And there's no us without you. We thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Until next time, we'll see you on My Racehorse TV.